Excited to see everybody here today. Once again, I welcome you all to Africa Elta April Web, and our presenter for today is Solange Swiri Tumasang, and she's here to take us through her beautiful presentation. My name is Blessing Apom, and I'm the Africa Elta Professional Development Coordinator. Right now, I'm going to be reading Solange's bio before she takes the floor. Our topic for discussion today is enhancing teachers' leadership skills in the EFL classroom. Solange Swiri Tumasang is a Cameroonian EFL teacher who has been teaching for 17 years now. She is a passionate educator, social linguist, women leader, and community advocate dedicated to promoting social justice and empowering marginalized communities through her non-profit Dr. Tumasang Swiri Foundation. With a PhD in social linguistics, she uses the transformative power of education in society to address classroom activities and to empower young girls to leadership. She is a lecturer at the Pan-African University, where she lectures governance and administrative English. Her leadership skills earned her a leadership award in 2023. Her areas of interest include leadership, social change, rhetoric, and gender issues. She is a member of several teachers' associations in Cameroon and has presented in several international conferences and won several grants. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored and excited to present to you Solange Swiri Tumasang. You can now have the floor, Solange. You're highly welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Blessing, for that presentation. And as we all know, today's session is going to be on enhancing teachers' leadership skills in the EFL classroom. Permit me share my slides. Okay. So for this presentation today, our work is going to be divided into 4 parts. We have an introduction, we get to leadership qualities, talk about some practical activities which can help teachers develop their leadership skills. Then we're going to look at some methods and strategies that you can use to access and recognize your leadership skills. Okay, so as I said, this session is going to focus on the crucial role of teachers' leadership skills in the EFL classroom. The session seeks to empower educators with the necessary tools and strategies to effectively lead students and create an engaging environment. So this webinar explores various leadership qualities and strategies that teachers can employ. So we first of all start by what is leadership? We know leadership is all about skills. It's all about influence and impact. Classroom leadership is all about the set of skills you demonstrate in your classroom and in your school in order to effectively impact and achieve success. When you teach and at the end of your class or after evaluation, you discover that everyone fails or you don't even achieve 50% success rate, you need to check your leadership skills. There might be a problem. So why is a teacher supposed to have leadership skills in his classroom? Most especially in the English class. It helps teachers to have a complete, comprehensive approach to teaching and learning. Teachers take ownership of their profession, and there is a focus on social justice and equity in the classroom. With teachers' leadership, there is a shared professionalism within the school. And teachers' leadership has a lot to do with student achievement. As I said, if your class is not performing well, check your leadership skills. If your classroom is not in order, check your leadership skills. So it is very important. What are some key qualities for effective leadership? A teacher should have good communication skills, should be able to communicate with his students and also with colleagues. Communication has to do with the way you talk, your public speaking skills, and how you demonstrate that within your classroom, and your students need to look up to you for that. A teacher should have empathy. Empathy is all about feeling for someone, mutual feeling. If a student is sick, put yourself in that student's shoe and feel the same pain. Leadership also has to do with organizational skills. As a teacher, as an effective leader, you should have organizational skills. When we talk about organization, we talk about classroom organization and management. How do you manage your class? Is your class in order? Are your students calm? Do your students follow your lectures? What techniques, what strategies do you put in place to have a calm and engaging classroom without disorder? There we see your leadership skills in action. A teacher, an effective leader, should have decision-making qualities. How fair and just are the decisions you take in your classroom? Do you punish your students when they answer poorly? Do you feel your students are not performing well and you take decisions that don't go towards improving their success? So as an effective leader, you should be wise in your classroom and take decisions that will work towards the success of your students. So what are some strategies for effective teacher leadership? Teacher leadership, especially for the English class. The first one is you're supposed to create a supportive classroom culture. When we say create a supportive classroom culture, we talk about setting clear expectations for your students. You should communicate with your students, set clear goals in your class, create a safe and structured environment where students feel supported. At the beginning of the school year, set your objectives, set classroom rules which students have to follow. And a supportive classroom is a classroom which encourages collaboration and teamwork. Provide opportunities for group work, debates, role plays, which fosters collaborative learning. Promote active student engagement. How do you promote active student engagement? You ask questions. You permit your students ask questions. Let them express themselves, contribute in discussions, thereby they're building their own leadership skills. It builds confidence in them. We also have emphasized respect and inclusivity. We have provide opportunities for students' voice and choice. Students should be able to have a voice or should be able to choose in your class. We are not in a dictatorship. We are in democracy. Make your classroom a class where everyone participates in the growth. Provide constructive feedback. when a student gives an answer, even if it is not correct, you should have a manner of approach, a way to tell the student, yes, it wasn't bad, but next time you can. Or if it is completely wrong, rather than just making the student feel bad, we are teaching in a francophone country, as I said. So Cameroon, we know it's bilingual, but I teach EFL, that is, I teach to the francophone students. They make a lot of mistakes. They make a lot of errors when answering questions in class. So the difference is, in my English class, there is always room for participation. Students participate because they know that no matter how wrong their answer will be, I will not castigate them, but I will help them rather to understand. I tell them we learn by making mistakes. So the difficulty is that French-speaking learners hardly want to speak because of the fear of criticism. So provide constructive feedback to your students. Promote student autonomy, make your students independent. Let them feel that they can do it without the teacher. They can read, they can write, even without the teacher. The next thing is you have to empower your students. You empower your students, you foster student-led discussions and activities. You should also promote collaborative learning, recognize and celebrate leadership qualities. When we say recognize and celebrate leadership qualities, what do we mean by that? When you organize your students in groups, for example, we are going to see that very soon, you should be able to appreciate what each and everyone does in that group. If you assign a role, make sure at the end of that task, you appreciate them, you recognize them, you bring certificates, you bring some little gifts so that the students can feel they did something good. You can offer mentorship and guidance as a way of empowering your student. You can be a mentor to them. You see the slow learners, you be their mentor in order for them to be empowered, to affirm themselves in the class. You should also support student initiatives. Students, give them the room to be able to think and to bring up suggestions and also creative aspects in the classroom. You can ask students, for example, we have a project coming up. What do you think you can do? Today we have to talk about going to the hospital. What do you think can be your initiative? You'll be very surprised at what students will tell you their projects are. Build positive relationships in your classroom. You have to get to know your students. A leader is someone who knows who he is working with. So foster a supportive classroom climate. Let your classroom be that supportive environment where everybody feels at home. Show empathy and understanding. We already saw that. Use positive communication in your class. I would like to talk about hate speech. Avoid as much as possible to use hate speech on your students, telling them, you're stupid, you're dull, you can't do it. Individualize instruction. If you discover that you have different categories of learners in your classroom, make sure you give them instructions that everyone will understand. Engage in meaningful interactions with your students. Don't always be the teacher. You can at times be a friend to them. And students love that when you become friendly with them, not crossing the border, but keeping a near distance where students feel safe coming to confide in you. You also can collaborate with families. Collaborating with families builds positive relationships. And once there is positive relationship in your class, success is just by the side. We also have student leadership opportunities. As a leader, you should give students the opportunity to express their own leadership skills. You can create discussion facilitators. You organize a discussion group and you say you are going to be the facilitator for today's session. You can have peer tutors. You organize their students in pairs, In groups, for example, you say, this will be the teacher for this group. You organize low learners, you take the first of your class, and he is their tutor. We can have language ambassadors in our classrooms. Who is a language ambassador? The person who is there to represent the class each time there is a language competition, and he is there. So we call him a language ambassador. You can have that in your classroom. Those are leadership roles you're giving your students. We can have project manager, technology, event organizer. All it depends on the various activities you in English. You assign them. You can alternate. The example, demonstrating leadership roles and activities can promote active learning. So it promotes also collaboration. Now, practical activities for teacher leadership development. How can teachers develop their leadership skills? Group projects. In class, try as much as possible to create groups. You give them a project, they work on, and at the end of the day, they do their presentations. We are in Cameroon working with our pedagogic approach is CBA, competence-based approach. So we use real-life situations in our classrooms. If the real-life situation for the day is about buying and selling, you can organize a project about a market scenario or a market scene, for example. It is a project you ask the students to work on. You can still under group projects, you have collaborative tasks, make students to collaborate amongst themselves. The second activity you can have in your class, presentations. We have expert presentations. What do we mean by expert presentations? Expert presentations are presentations made by those you think are the best in the class. They can be the experts while the others follow up. You can have teaching demonstration in your classroom. You can call on 2 or 3 students to teach. After your class, if you taught reading comprehension, you can ask a student to come up and also demonstrate what was taught. We have problem-based learning, real-world challenges. You can create your classroom based on problems. You identify a problem in society and you bring the students together and tell them to look for ideas for them to solve this particular world problem. If it is malaria, if it is COVID-19, they will work on that. Role plays, this is very, very interesting. Students love to role. So as a leader and you trying to develop their leadership skills, you should have a lot of role plays in class, but they should have self-confidence in order to take up these roles. You can have simulated interviews, like we are in a job interview. You are going to be the employer and you the job seeker. So they try to exchange just to grow their vocabulary skills. Cultural exchange role play. You can say you're a Nigerian, I'm a Cameroonian. Let's try to talk about our cultures. Let's do an exchange of what our various cultures are. You can even invite them to come with their traditional regalia to class. So we have also debates where you can have opinion leaders in the class. You choose one person, one group, and they have their opinion. So they defend that opinion in class, thereby building their own political skills even. So we also have collaborative decision-making exercises, decision-making scenario. You make the students to feel like they can take decisions for themselves. You ask them, what do you think you'll be in future? That is, for example, a real life situation about the future job. Ask them what they'll be in future, and they will tell you what they would like to be. You can also bring in conflict resolution scenarios. Create a scene, for example, about the crisis in our country. You tell them, let's work together. I give you this group, you're going to work on this. This is your topic. Try to bring us some conflict resolution techniques you think can help solve the conflict in our country. You'll be amazed at what the students can do. But now you have to be there as the guide to collaborate them and work with them so they can bring out the best of their skills. Now, how do you access and recognize leadership? Yeah, we say a leader should communicate, a leader should have organizational skills, a leader should. So how do you assess that? First, we can access students' leadership skills. Even though you think you are a leader, you are trying to groom leaders, or you know you are a leader, you are grooming your students to become leaders, you should always try to assess how far, evaluate their level, if they are improving or if they are still as shy as they used to be, most especially in speaking. So you can have peer evaluation where students evaluate themselves. Here we have a list of questions here where you can ask students about a particular leader in class. For example, if you did role play and there was a leader, that group, you go towards that group and ask them these various questions. Did the student leader appear confident? So they will self-evaluate themselves. And at the end, you're going to present the results to the class. You can put a yes, no column and you fill it at the end of your class. The students can evaluate themselves and the teacher too can access them, can evaluate the students' leadership. Here we'll talk about SWOT analysis. The strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats in the student. What are the student's strengths? What are his weaknesses? What opportunities did you present to the students? And what are the threats and how are you able to use it to your advantage? If we talk about threats, for example, look at barriers, what has been preventing these students and how did I manage to solve that? Is it fear of speaking and how did I help them to get out of that? So this is what we call teacher's assessment. You assess the level of leadership skills you've been able to impact on your students. So these questions are a guide for every teacher to use in his or her classroom. Now, as a teacher, you can assess yourself. How do you assess yourself? We have self-reflection tips. Self-reflection is essential for continuous growth and personal development. You should be truthful to yourself. Ask yourself the right questions. Am I emotionally okay in my class? Do my students feel confident beside me? Am I a good leader? Are my students always happy when I come to class? Do my students sleep during the English class? You have to set your goals and you monitor your progress. Okay, at the beginning of the year, my problems, I had communication problems. So how have I been able to overcome that? I improved? My problem was teaching, for example, teaching pronunciation. Has my pronunciation skills developed? Am I still at the same level? So you somehow create a self-reflection strategy where you self-examine yourself. We also have a second way of assessing your leadership skills by the SWOT analysis tips. You analyze your strengths, your weaknesses, and your challenges. You go communication. What are my strengths? Am I a good communicator? Do I speak well to my student? Am I audible in my class? My students, do they complain about me being am I not audible enough to them? Do I speak well? Do I pronounce well? So I think you need to ask yourself all those questions. Empathy. How far am I empathetic with my students? Sociability with my colleagues. So am I sociable? Do I collaborate with my colleagues? Have I been able to overcome some of these challenges which I faced at the beginning of the year? So you sit and try to analyze yourselves using these SWOT analysis tips. Professional development opportunities that can enhance leadership skills for English language teachers. There are so many professional development opportunities out there. Leadership is a continuous process. Some people were born leaders, while others achieved leadership or acquired leadership by learning. So what are some of those opportunities that as a teacher you can use to enhance your leadership skills. You can attend conferences and workshops. We can attend online courses and webinars. This is a webinar that is going on, so make it a duty to always attend them. We have online courses like the open courses, which are free. You just apply. And we have so many leadership online certification courses, which you can always go for to enhance your leadership skills. We have mentorship programs like the Africa Elta Mentorship Program. You can always apply to be one. You get a mentor. You get a mentor for him to follow you up or for her to be there to guide you throughout. Professional learning communities. We have so many professional learning communities online and even in your teacher associations. Do you belong to teachers associations in your country or in your area? You should try to be there and also take leadership roles in the professional community. You should ask responsibilities from your school. One way of cultivating or building your leadership skill is to ask for more responsibilities. You can lead the English club in your school. You can lead any other club, the cultural club. You can lead that. You can also make yourself indispensable in your school and even in your classroom in such a way that when you leave, you must have created an impact. Your students will be longing and asking wherever you are. I remember when I was in my first school, where I was posted when I left school. There I took up so many leadership positions. I was the best MC. Each time there was an event, the minister was coming or they were organizing any school feast, they'll think about me. And no, let her be the one. So at some point in time, I started thinking that, but why can't others do? Or every other person was shying away. When I left till date, they still call me to come MC some of their activities because I had to leave a lasting impact in the school by accepting leadership roles. You can be a volunteer. You can be a volunteer in leading classroom activities for other colleagues. So it is very important for your professional development. Try to grasp some of these courses, workshops, conferences, mentorship programs that will help you build your leadership skill, not only in community, but you also apply them in your classroom. Enhancing teachers' leadership skills in the English classroom, English as a foreign language classroom, fosters a dynamic learning environment. This promotes student engagement and growth and strengthens the teacher-student relationship for effective language instruction. Don't be that teacher who, when he enters a classroom, students run away. Or don't be the teacher who bores students to sleeping during their class. Try to be that teacher who, when he stands up, everyone respects. That teacher who influences. When you're walking and you turn back and see no one following you, question yourself. Are you a true leader? Are you a real leader? What are the leadership skills you have? How do you apply that in your classroom? How have your students been able to benefit from the skills? Can it be visible in the classroom management? Can it be visible in the students' performance? Can it be visible in the overall growth of your school? Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Wow, that's really awesome. Wow. And I'm sure a lot of people still want to hear more from you. Solange, Swiri, you've just given us so many tips and so many practical strategies. And I'm sure that we can't get enough of this type of talk or discussion. And I see that there is a question in the chat. And at this point, I would like to encourage everyone to please send your questions to the chat. We still have some time, so we'll be able to take as many questions as possible what Solange has shared with us today are practical experiences that I believe that a lot of us would have encountered in our classes in one way or the other. So you're free to ask questions, you are free to contribute, share your ideas or share your experiences. And if there's anything you want Solange to further explain, I'm sure she'll be happy to do that. So I quickly take the first question I can see here from Umar Ibrahim. Excuse me. And it says, how do you assess yourself as a teacher and come up with actual constructive feedback, which will be acceptable by you as an assessor? I'll take that again. How do you assess yourself as a teacher and come up with actual constructive feedback, which will be acceptable by you as an assessor? So I think he's talking about self-evaluation here. So Solange, if you can attend to Ibrahim's question, how can you have your self-evaluation, an honest evaluation, if I can get what he's trying to say, and come up with a constructive feedback for yourself without being demoralized or frustrated? Solange, will you be happy to share some tips with us? Okay. I think we lost Solange there, but the floor is open to anyone who would like to share an idea about this while we wait for Solange to return. You can put your answers in the chat, and if you don't want to put your answers in the chat, you can just signify and your mic will be unmuted for you to speak. So anybody in the house can attend to Omar's question. How do you assess yourself as a teacher and come up with actual constructive feedback, which will be acceptable by you as an assessor? Okay, and
Shall
that's the
I say
question.
something?
Yes, for
Am I
that, please
allowed
go
to
ahead.
speak?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm
You can go
Fozia
ahead.
from Ethiopia. I really liked the topic you have raised today. Leadership and teaching are almost the same. As a leader leads in the organization, the teacher has also a role to play in the classroom. So the question is, how can the self-assessment be genuine? I think the purpose of reflective practice is not evaluating yourself and giving yourself a grade. I am an A teacher, I am a B teacher. It's not the purpose. The goal is self-improvement. So it is all about the attitude of the teacher. We need to know the purpose of the assessment. Why am I assessing myself? It is for improvement. So we meet the goal if we do the assessment genuinely. This is what I believe. So the teacher should have a positive attitude or should understand the value of the assessment, and he or she needs to be genuine to herself, and this is how we grow. This is how I view it.
Thank you so much, Fozia. That's really awesome. That's really awesome. So don't be too hard on yourself. And for me, what I do to really assess or evaluate my teaching, I do that by evaluating my learners. So if as a teacher, I have taught a topic and I evaluate my learners and they're not able to give me the expected feedback, it actually shows that maybe I need to do some more. I need to go back to the drawing board. I need to find out areas where they are struggling, and I need to revisit that topic. So really, you can't just sit down and evaluate yourself, maybe play a video and feel good about yourself. No, for me, I I think the best way I can evaluate myself is by evaluating my learners, and the feedback I get from my learners will give me an insight as to how I've been able to, do justice to that particular topic. Then I can move forward. Another way could be supervision or through feedback from superiors. Okay, maybe you have your head of department, or you have a supervisor, or the head of school. I don't know what it's called in your location, but whatever it's called, you have someone you report to, someone who does evaluation of your lesson, from time to time. When they give you those feedback, it's better for you to accept it, and try to work on those areas that needs your attention. So I think all of these are ways we can genuinely assess ourselves as educators. Okay, so
Thank you for that. I
okay,
lost
you're
my
back.
network.
Okay, I see. You're welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I didn't
Okay.
get any of the questions or remarks or comments.
Oh, so I just took the first question, and Fozia was able to share some beautiful ideas with us. And the question was from Umar Ibrahim, and he said, how do you assess yourself as a teacher and come up with actual constructive feedback, which will be acceptable by you as an assessor? So that's the question.
Okay,
Should I take it?
self-assessment, as I mentioned, 2 points. Self-reflection, first of all, as a self-awareness. That is self-reflection, which allows you to gain a deeper understanding of yourself. You should be able to introspect and be very truthful to yourself, because if you know you've not been carrying out this particular leadership task properly and it is visible in your class, you should be truthful to tell yourself that I am not good at this. This is my weakness, so I need to work on it. You should be able to help individuals to recognize your emotions, your beliefs. This will help you to be self-aware that I didn't do this properly. Another way of examining yourself is learning from experiences. You can learn from your experience by examining maybe your past actions and your outcomes. You can also identify some patterns and areas where you can improve and make adjustments. This will also be for your own success in future. So when I talked about emotional well-being, I talked about emotional well-being contributing to providing individuals with opportunity to process their emotions. You can, for example, examine what triggers anger in your classroom. What makes you stress in that class? What is that particular element in your class that each time you go in, you're stressed, you're nervous? That is emotional well-being. You access that, you evaluate all those are to be able to have a positive mindset when you come to class. So just try as much as possible to be truthful to yourself and ask the necessary questions.
Thank you very much. I love the way you brought in the emotional aspect to this, because that's one key area a lot of us teachers we do not really pay much attention to, and it really affects our output as educators. So emotional well-being, emotional stability is very, very essential, and it will go a long way in determining our productivity in the classroom. Thank you so much. So I have two other questions I can see here from Caroline Izuchuku. I see a question that says, what measures can be used to select a peer tutor in your classroom? Take it out again. What measures can be used to select a peer tutor in your classroom? A peer tutor.
Okay, as I earlier said during the presentation, a tutor is like a teacher. It's like someone who is there to guide the others. So in your class, you know your students, you know who is good at reading, who is good at speaking, who's good at writing, and who is good at listening. The 4 skills, you know which of your students is best. And you even have your overall student, best student in class. So you look at the performance of that student and you'll be able to say, no, this can be a tutor. This student can be, I remember in my school, we used to take the first year and the last year and make the last year students to be tutors to the first year, because they had a role of guiding them, giving them advice, helping them draw up their reading timetable, give them tips on how to succeed. So if you identify in your classroom that this particular student is good at reading, make him a peer tutor in your class in that particular, when he gets to that. If you identify a student who loves projects, who is creative, make that student a tutor in that particular domain. So it's a matter of identifying your students' strengths in class and assigning them the leadership task you think they can carry out.
Very excellent. So at a very young age, they're already playing leadership roles, and you're already training them to become emerging leaders. That's really awesome. Thank you for that. I have another question from Gladys Futro, and she says, how can you encourage participatory leadership by engaging the students? I take that again. How can you encourage participatory leadership by encouraging the students? I think you just answered that kind of, but you may want to say something else.
Okay, participative leadership is I can say it's a unique leadership style, which is like democratic leadership. But the participative leader in your class is there to guide the other students while encouraging them to provide feedback and participate in decision making in your classroom. So if you identify your student, you try to bring them in a group. I always insist on group work, collaborative learning. I insist on that. So if you take your students in a group, some of them will be there to encourage the others to ask questions, encourage the others not to be afraid. As we say here in Cameroon, they say it's God that gives English. So to them, English is something out of this world. That is only God that can give them. So when you encourage participative leadership, everyone in that group can participate constructively into the growth of the class by giving in their ideas. No one is too dull to give an idea. So you encourage them to participate in the class. In a democratic way, there is no dictator. Everyone has a say in the class. So how do you improve that? You have to, when you create the group, you provide information to that group. You give them clear rules. You discuss with the students. You share ideas about how they can solve problems. You process the ideas and summarize the discussion at the end. Then they do a presentation in front of the class. There, everyone has participated in a task.
Great, awesome ideas. Thank you so very much. So I saw Onyiko Sala's hand up the other time. I will salute. If you still want to ask your question, I can take that before I go back to the questions in the chat. Onyiko Sala, you can please unmute your mic. Your hand has been up before now. Okay,
all right.
please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes. Please, this is my question. I have this very special student in my class, and I really, when I heard this, when I saw it, I really felt compelled to join the group and ask this question. Now, I have this particular student, is special. I think he has attention deficit or whatever. When he was brought to the school, we're told that he's high on sugar and all of those things. So we have that issue and dealing with it. So
please, can you be audible? Can you be audible?
Oh yes, I'm audible. Sorry. Now, that's the way the boy, well, that's the way he is when he was brought in, and everyone has been trying to be empathetic and maybe give him this kind of special attention that this is the kind of person that he is. But no matter how you give this boy attention, it's not cooperative. It's not cooperating. He doesn't want to write. He doesn't want to sit still. He doesn't want to learn. He does not want to do anything. Like, it's the height of it. He does not want to do anything. He always wants to play. And sometimes I try, let's leave him, let's pamper him. Oh, please write this, do that. He doesn't want to do it. He does not want to write. He does not want to sit still. He wants to eat. He wants to mess up the class. It's just everywhere at the same time. Now, this particular thing is now becoming like partiality to other students in the class. They're sort of saying it that this boy can actually do anything and get away with it, and nobody's going to punish him. But why can't we do it? Now, it's now becoming a case of you not wanting to bring one back and losing the others, because the others are feeling like they are not treated with the same attention and everything. Now, it's not that they are not giving equal attention. They're just looking at it that a teacher cannot be in the class, right, asking them to do this or do that, and class participation, and they will not, every one of them, all hand will be on deck. But with this particular boy, it's a no and it's a no. Now, I'm looking now, what kind of leadership is a teacher supposed to display in that kind of situation? How can I be a good leader in that kind of situation? How can I be at best? Because sometimes it just seems like you're not doing enough, especially for this boy. And my bosses at work will say, you're not going to be judged because of those that already know it, or maybe those ones that are okay. All they need is just a little patching. You're going to be judged based on this particular one. Now, this particular one, all effort has been tried, and it's still very futile. You can go to his class, he's not writing anything, You can't even compel him. Sometimes you want to be very harsh. You have to write, you have to do, you have to participate, you have to do this. Now, other times you're like, okay, maybe I should not go that way. Because it just shuts down completely. And other times when you say, okay, don't let me be like this, let me be very gentle, it's still not working. My question is, how can you display or express being that leader that you have to be as a teacher? That's my question.
Wow, that is a real problem you have in your class. There is this particular time we talk about inclusive classrooms. I think there you have to cultivate an inclusive classroom culture where all the students feel valued and respected. This particular student, he has an emotional problem. I think the student has a special need. I try to do a neat analysis of this particular student. He can be the type of student who loves creativity. Identify what makes him calm during your class. What activities does this particular student like? You take him, there is, what term will I use? This particular student, at times, he just needs to feel loved or someone who cares for him. Maybe the other students, that's why we say cultivate empathy with your students. Let them know that in this class, this particular person is different, but we have to celebrate his difference because he is part of us. There, they will be able to accept whatever he is doing, and he will integrate. Maybe you haven't checked how the other students behave with this particular student. Maybe that is why he is the way he is. He feels he is not accepted. So be the leader to that particular student. Make him fight in you. That's what I talked about. One of the qualities, empathy. Put yourself in that particular student's shoes. Put him down. Maybe give him a paper when they are doing reading. Give him a paper and ask him maybe to give him a special exercise, not what the others are doing. Just try various techniques with this student and you'll get to the one which suits him. But we also have special education centers. Maybe your student needs that. Maybe your student needs that special education center. So that's what I talked about, doing a needs analysis. The student's attitude can even be against or because he is rebelling against the way others are treating him in class. So try to look for a solution by doing a neat analysis and try several activities with him. Guide him, be a counselor, be a guardian, be a mother, communicate with him, put him down, make him a friend. Then he will tell you whatever he likes to do and what will be best for him. Just give him, let him take decisions too. Let him participate in his own well-being, as I may put it.
Yeah, great, awesome ideas, and thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so you may just want to also read up about special education needs, probably take up a course on it, and that might help you. It's unfortunate that you have to be judged based on a child who has special needs. Usually, you shouldn't be judged because you should have support, either external support to also work with you as a teacher if you have a special needs pupil or child in your classroom. But like Solange said, you can do the much as you can and show love to him. Thank you. So I see Umar's hand up, but before I take your question, Umar, please permit me to go back to the chat. I have a question here from Amin Sal. I hope I got that, sorry, from Senegal. And he or she says, congrats for this stellar presentation. Just one question. What tips would you offer to introvert teachers who wish to develop leadership and communication skills? So introvert teachers, I believe shy teachers. I don't know if a teacher can be really shy. I wonder how that works. A teacher and you're an introvert. I don't know how that works. But what tips would you offer to introvert teachers who wish to develop leadership and communication skills? Right.
Yeah, as you said, introvert teachers, it's very, very rare because as a teacher, you're meant to be outspoken, you're meant to talk. So I think at the end of my presentation, I gave some opportunity, some professional development courses you can take. You can take some of them up. You can take online courses on leadership. And it's not only about taking the courses. I even like to insist on this. It's not even only about taking the courses. The courses are there to give you the theory, but you need to put that in practice. And how do you put them in practice? Try as much as possible in your classroom to talk. Every opportunity you have, talk. In your social group, talk. In church, talk. Wherever you find yourself, try to talk. There you're building your communication, you're building your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and try even also to belong to teachers' associations. I believe in your country, you have teacher associations. Join a teacher association and there opt to do little presentations. Even ask questions, raise your hand, ask questions, and try to be sociable with others. Even in your classroom, try to do all of these activities I'm talking about, taking leadership role, carrying out activities, meet your school administrator and ask them to give you leadership roles, volunteer in maybe emceeing an activity in your school. All that will help build. It's all about building your self-confidence. I believe there is this particular lack of self-esteem that you have. So if you do all these, you carry out these activities, I believe you will be an extrovert.
Exactly. Thank you. And you can't give what you don't have. So if you want to raise students who are leaders, so you need to also improve on yourself as well as a teacher, because really you can't give what you don't have. You can't raise children who are outspoken, who are confident, if you don't have that in you. So to round up this very interesting webinar and discussion, I would like to take one final question from the Vice President of Africa ELTA, and every other question, please, should be forwarded to the groups, either the WhatsApp group or the Telegram group, and it will be attended to. All right, so the question from Mahamba Sebastian says, how do you balance this leadership in ESL, EFL learners in terms of authoritative, authoritarian, and democratic as a classroom culture? Okay, authoritative, authoritarian, and democratic as a classroom culture. How do you balance this leadership styles?
Yeah, I would like to say EFL and ESL, it all depends on the approach you're using in your classroom. Which pedagogic approach are you using in your classroom? There is, based on your pedagogic approach, you are going to be able to design activities that best suit your EFL or ESL students. Talking about EFL, I talked about a democratic, a participatory leadership style in your class, not authoritarian, because by the time the students see you as a boss, as someone who is there to dictate to them, they have no say in the class, they begin to shy. Let your lessons be student-centered. Give them room to express themselves. Don't be, I don't know when you say authoritarian, is the teacher that is authoritarian or the students that are authoritarian. But if it is the students, let them understand that all of them are potential leaders and give them the advantages, the importance of being a leader, and a democratic one at that, not authoritarian. Through the various activities, when you do collaborative learning, everyone participates. When you do project-based learning, everyone, problem solving, all of them participate. So the teacher shouldn't be authoritative or autocratic, whether in the EFL or ESL classroom. Look for we call it in French, juste milieu, the balance between the two, being authoritative and being democratic in your classroom. I don't know if I was able to answer your question.
Sure.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I wish to know, when are we going to take the floor?
Take the floor. Do you have a question, Ibrahim?
I didn't get that. The network wasn't stable.
I think I heard him. Ibrahim, do you have a question? You can unmute your mic if you can.
I haven't any question to ask. Just I wish to know if you people are going to ask us some questions so that we are going to take the floor.
Okay, we don't have any question for you. But like I said before, if you have any question, you can just put it up on the WhatsApp platform. And I really want to appreciate everyone for joining this webinar. It's been so enlightening, motivating, enriching, and we are so very pleased to have you all bringing up your ideas and bringing up your questions. And I can't but thank profusely our presenter for tonight, Solange Swiri Tumasang, once again for her beautiful presentation and leading us in this excellent discussion tonight. So we've come to the end of this April webinar, and I say congratulations to you all. And just to announce to you that there will be no webinar in the month of May because we will all be meeting ourselves in Egypt for the 8th African Altar Conference. And I hope you've all registered and you're all getting ready to find your way down to Egypt. So we hope to see as many of you here right now in Egypt as well. Thank you very much. And at this point, I would like to see our beautiful and handsome faces and as we wrap up tonight. Yeah, so it's hello and goodbye from Nigeria. Okay, you can please unmute your mics. You can show us your video.
Bye. Good night.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.
Yes.
See you in
Bye.
Cairo.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, see you in Cairo. See you in Cairo. If you haven't registered, you still have the time to do that. Yeah, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.